me. Can't park there, mate.
Hello out there in internet land. This is the F1 Chat, episode 12. I can't believe we've made it to episode 12 this season, but we're up to episode 12, race 10 from Silverstone. I'm your host, Phil Lamington, and sitting beside me is a man who,
Excuse me. You can't park there, mate.
it's JB. How are you going, JB?
I'm all right, mate. I'm good. Little bit miffed about Danny Rick's performance, but happier with Lando's. It was a better weekend for my boys, and we were treated to a great race.
Yes, we were. And sitting to my right, making his return again, is a man who he's pretty sure that with his teeth in his tongue, it will kill.
It will kill.
It's Longhorn. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good now that my teeth's in my lips, tip of the tongue. But I see, I'm stuffing it up now.
Because you're thinking about
it. Yeah.
It's all right. I had to think of half the intro. Like I had it. Then we started recording. I'm just like,
yeah. No, I'm doing good. We were treated to a great race, and like JB, I'm miffed too, but in the opposite direction. I'm miffed about Latifi's performance actually being all right.
Yeah, what the heck?
What the hell happened?
He's taking your criticism on board.
Yeah, he was in Q3. What is this?
what is this madness? What is this evil you speak of? I got to say, the funniest moment for me all weekend was Lance Stroll beaching it. And the guy with the megaphone going,
Excuse me. Can't park there, mate.
And everyone laughing. Yeah.
and he didn't.
No, yeah, he would have hated
For
that.
some reason, he wasn't laughing.
I wonder why.
It couldn't have happened to a better bloke. Let's put it that way.
Yes, 10 points for fucking Gryffindor there. Right, so, because there was an F2 race, we're bringing it back again, back by unpopular demand. Because we simply got inundated with a letter.
A singular letter.
A singular letter, like Top Gear, to bring back Brody's F2 report.
And here it is, by unpopular demand. So, this weekend in Formula 2, we're in Silverstone, and we actually had a sprint race on top of the main race, so 2 races this weekend, which is always a lot of fun. But I'll start with the qualifying first. So, Logan Sargent put it on pole, the Williams Academy driver, and became the first American in F2 to put it there. So, Sargent on pole, Vesti locked out the front row, followed by championship leader Felipe Drugovich in third, Theo Pourchaire in fourth. Then we had Liam Lawson in fifth, Ayumi Iwasa in sixth, Australian Jack Doohan in seventh, Yuri Vips, no longer with Red Bull, but we'll get to that later, in eighth. In ninth, we had Enzo Fittipaldi. In 10th, Jehan Jaruvla. And I'll just give you the top 10 because, yeah, you hear enough of me talk in this podcast. You don't need me to read out the other 10. But so for the sprint race, obviously, that gets reversed. So 10th starts first for the sprint race and so forth. And yeah, so we had a wet race for the sprint race. So I know what you're thinking after last time's F2 race. Talk to me about the flags.
Yeah. Were they yellow in colour?
There was none.
What?
I know, right? What paradigm are we living in?
What the heck?
So yeah, we actually had quite a just a pretty standard race, really, for the sprint race.
In the wet?
It was in the wet, and we didn't have one accident.
I'm shocked.
F2 in the wet.
Yep.
No yellow flags.
No yellow
No
flags.
safety car.
No safety car.
What is this madness?
I know. I'm thinking the same thing.
Wow.
So, with the sprint race, like I said, there wasn't much to it. I'll just give you the top 10 results for that one. We actually had Australian Jack Doohan win,
Woo!
which was his first win in Formula 2.
Go, kid.
Yep, it was a pretty good performance too. He came from fourth in the grid and, pretty much dominated. So he won. In second, we had Ayumi Iwasa young Japanese driver from Red Bull. Enzo Fittipaldi locked out the podiums. Then we had Theo Pourchaire in 4th, Drogovic in 5th, Vesti in 6th, Logan Sargent 7th, Jaruvla in 8th, Marcus Armstrong 9th, and in 10th we had Richard Verschoor. So that were our top 10 for the sprint. But then we had the main race, which...
Oh, goody.
Oh, wow. I did see the back half of this race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It wasn't too bad a race, this one. This was in dry. And we got what we usually see in Formula 2. We got some flags. But I'll give us the play-by-play when I can find it. Where are we? All right, so the race was dry conditions. So, as I was saying before, Logan Sargent was on pole, so back to the normal qualifying results. From the start, Sargent got away nicely to keep the lead. Vesti had a horror start and got eaten up and fell back to 6th by about the second corner. While Pourchaire and Lawson did the opposite and jumped into 2nd and 3rd, while Drogovic fell to 5th and Iwasa moved up to 4th. So fair few drivers had some horror starts and some had some really good ones off the start, and it mixed up the grid quite quickly, which was quite good. Aussie Jack Doohan also enjoyed a horror start, actually. He fell down 5 spots from 7th to 12th. So there was just like a whole range of... It was like one or the other. There was no in between. It was either awesome start or horrible start. So that's how we got off to this race.
Or as it's commonly known as in the business as Webbering the start.
Yeah, Webbering the start.
So then we get into our first bit of action in lap 2. So heading into the chicane, Roy Nassani went off into the grass and managed to clip Dennis Hauger, which put Hauger off into the grass, but Nassani bent back on track heading into the chicane. But then that wasn't all. That's where they met next. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen this crash.
Oh, yeah, we have.
Yeah, but the Halo system once again showing its worth this weekend. Obviously in the Formula 1 race, which we'll get to, but in this race it did. As Hauger went off into the grass and headed towards the chicane, Nassani turned in, and Hauger went up the sausage curve and essentially torpedoed straight on top of Nassani's car and crashed them both out the race.
It kind of looked like something out of the old Cannonball Run movie.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
It was pretty terrifying, and that video is actually up on our Facebook page too.
Yes, I seen it up there.
The F1 chat. So if you want to check that one out, it's terrifying, but it shows why the Halo.
Oddly
is
enough,
there.
though, it does pale in comparison to what happened in the F1 race.
Yeah, it does.
It does, but as JB was just saying, it shows heavily how important that Halo system is. Because I think we might have been seeing an unfortunate, probably a death in Formula 2 this week if we didn't have it. So
Absolutely.
So yeah, thankfully they're both fine. Obviously crashed out the race, but they were both okay. We again get to the restart in lap 6. Clement Novelet makes a move on Jaruvla to get into the points position. This is moving into 10th, having come through from 17th. So he's another one of the drivers who was just on fire early. Got off to a good start and was just making his way up the grid. Lap 10, cars start their pit stops with so many cars on the soft compound and so many cars on the hard. This was the start of basically the soft compound tyre starters to stop. So with their pit stops, Iwasa having trouble with the left rear tyre, causing him to lose an extra 6 seconds in a few places as he comes back out onto the track. Lap 11, our race leader Sargent and second place Pourchaire pit with no issues and come back out into the midfield behind the cars that haven't pitted yet on the hard tyres. The cars currently that were on the hard tyres were Yuri Vips, Jehan Daruvula, Jack Doohan, Jake Hughes, Marino Sato and Cullen Williams, who's also another Australian actually racing in Formula 2. So they stayed out on the hard tyres. We didn't really get much for most of the rest of the race until the hard tyre starters started to stop. So lap 23, Vips, the race leader at this point on the hard tyre strategy, pits while Daruvla, who was managing PBs at the time, and was starting to create just a gap to try and cut back out to fight for a podium place. So the hard strategy was actually working at this point. But Vips had a bad pit stop, and come out in 12th, and Deruvlas wasn't that great either, and he come out in 9th. But they swapped positions. As Deruvla come out, Vips actually met him and overtook him, put him into 9th, and Deruvla back into 10th. Lap 25, Doohan then did his pit stop he had to do. He got a bad pit stop with the right rear not going on properly, and this put him back outside of the points, but made some good recovery places back up to finish inside of the points, which leads us up to lap 29 and the end of this race. And just quickly go on the pit stops. You guys watch much Formula 2 with the pit stops? It's kind of interesting. There's so much more into play because they've only got one guy per tyre.
Yeah.
So
It's slow.
yeah, it's slower, but it also seems to add like an extra element of things can go wrong because one guy's got more jobs to do.
You've got to take the
quickly.
tyre off and put the tyre on and jack it.
Yeah, and then get the gun in.
And get the rattle gun on it.
Yeah. So it can be interesting, like, sometimes watching them do the pit stops because it just throws in that extra... You get way more bad pit stops, I guess, because obviously, so it creates more diversity within the race because it's just not as stock standard as the Formula 1.
Yeah, it's a bigger element.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. But...
Well, I was just going to say, with IndyCar, don't they have, like, one fuel guy and two guys for the tyres?
I think so.
They swap sides, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you watch a Formula 2 pit stop and it's a world of difference to a Formula 1 pit stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So, lap 29 and the end of this race, we had here at the top, I'll give you again, the top 10. So, Logan Sargent come home to be the first American to win in F2.
Good on
and
him.
also get his first win of the season. Theo Pocher came home in second. Young French driver. Liam Lawson, the young Kiwi driver, in the Red Bull Academy, finished third. Watch for him in the coming years. He's pretty impressive. Our championship leader, Felipe Drugovich, come fourth. Vesti managed to finish fifth. Yuri Vips finished sixth. Jehan Deruvla finished seventh. Marcus Armstrong finished eighth. Jack Doohan come home in the points in ninth. And Enzo Fittipaldi round out the top 10 in 10th. So that was our race for Silverstone.
Before we move on from F2 onto F1, I know this is probably going to be a pretty easy question to answer, but is there any drivers in F2 that really stand out for you guys?
No. Not compared to Piastri. If that's
Not
what you're
compared
sort
to
of
like
thinking.
the previous generation of Callum Ilott and Mick Schumacher and
Yeah.
all those boys, Piastri and De Vries even.
Yeah.
I think, they're not really jumping. I mean, unfortunately, we said it before we hit record. The guy that was jumping out to me was Yuri Vips,
Yeah.
and he has been terminated
Yeah.
by Red Bull.
Well, for me, there is actually one driver in F2 that does stand out, and that's Teo Pourchaire.
Yeah, I'll give you that. He'd
Or
definitely be up
maybe Drogovic.
there. At the moment, Dragovic, because, I mean, he's leading
He's leading the
championship and he's
championship. Yeah.
consistent, but
Yeah,
I'd have
Porsche-
to go back and look over his whole career because I think this is his third year in F2, so you would be hoping by now if he's got any talent, he'll be, racing as he is now. The guys that are the ones you're watching to jump out are the guys who come in their first year and they're dominant,
like Jack Doohan.
And there's actually one name I was going to say. Jack Doohan's actually been pretty impressive. He's had 2 poles, just won his first year in F2. So he's currently, I'll look up the oval chart. I think he's coming 8th in the drivers at the moment. And he drives pretty well at times. So yeah, he's probably the standout to me in Formula 2 because it's his rookie year. Other than that, I think there's just a bunch of capable drivers.
Yeah, so no one that you could see next year going up to F1.
No, there's no one screaming pick me. Not even at the moment. It looks like Drugovich could win this, and I don't know if he would warrant a seat anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even with a win.
It's almost like it's without being disparaging or anything, I'm just going for the shortest point of entry here. It's like being the best of the worst.
Yes. Yep.
Like they're
It's just
all not great, but he's the guy who, someone's got to win it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
exactly
much.
what Drugovich feels like. He does feel like that. Because, I mean, there's definitely no talent in there like the ones that we've currently got in F1 at the moment with your your Lando Norrises, your George Russells,
Your Mick
Schumachers, your Piastris. There's no one coming through with that kind of talent at the moment. But obviously, like you said, there's going to be a winner. And I'm sure they'll gain some interest and might jag a reserve driver's spot potentially. But there's definitely no one screaming out to say, I need to be an F1C.
Fittipaldi is the Haas test driver.
He is, yes.
Yeah, but
I think he's there more on name value than anything.
100%.
yeah, he's it's like an NFL draft class. Like, some seasons you can pick the superstar coming out of college, and some seasons there's fucking really nothing. And I think Formula 2 this year is just, it's not like they're bad drivers or anything, it's just the generational superstar quality has already been picked up.
Yeah.
Like, Mick Schumacher's already been grabbed, Piastri's already been grabbed, and the generation before that, Lando and George Russell. And
I think they've set the standard almost as if
And even-
that's the quality you got to be to get in. And
Yeah, that's the benchmark.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the F2 report?
That is the F2 report.
That is the F2 report. Now we're going over to the F1 report. It's JB.
All right. Holy crap, have we got some... all right.
Teeth in the lips, tip of the tongue.
That's it. The 2022 British Grand Prix from the Silverstone circuit.
Oh, before you talk about that, did you see who was a marshal at on Saturday at qualifying?
No?
Keanu Reeves.
Really?
Yeah, he's really good, eh?
Because he is working on a doco with F1 and particularly Ross Brawn. They're doing a doco about Brawn F1,
Right.
and he is the narrator.
Okay.
And he was invited to be at the track as a guest, and he went, you know what, I want to be a marshal.
Good on him.
So he stood in the rain and watched the cars go around. I can't remember what corner, but I think he was at the end of the old pit straight.
Cops.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a corner to be marshalling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was there.
That's awesome.
In the rain.
Which is more than
And
Tom
then-
Cruise did.
And then, after qualifying, he even did an interview with Martin Brundle.
Yeah.
And he was excited. He was waving his arm around. You know what? He can go on the grid walk anytime. Keanu, Paul Dempsey, you are welcome.
Did you see Tom
Hell
Cruise
yeah.
on the walk?
I seen him in the Mercedes
I
garage.
saw him in the Mercedes garage.
Yeah, he was on the grid walk. He did an interview. He was very quiet. Like, he was talking, and he was like, he seemed engaging, but he was talking really quietly. I don't know. I don't know if it was Martin's microphone or what, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Tom Cruise was
He's been
fucking...
in the Mercedes garage a few times, hasn't he? Or Tom
Yeah,
Cruise?
yeah, because he has a collection of Mercedes and they're modified Mercedes
Yeah, right.
where they've got so much torque that it's not funny.
Yeah,
It's like
okay.
starts with a B. Because Jeremy Clarkson on Top Gear reviewed one, and he's like, "There's so much torque that this car is stupid."
Yeah.
He's like, "It's undrivable."
Yeah, it's like
Whereas-
that Spectralops cars.
Like, it's not even Mercedes. Like, it's an external mob that
Yeah,
modifies
yeah,
it.
I can picture it in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good on him. I mean, good on him for being there. Apparently he's working on something. He wants to make a movie or something.
Mission Impossible 10 or something.
No. He wants to make a Formula One movie.
Well, Lewis Hamilton is working on one where he's an executive producer.
Yeah, I think that's the same project.
He's in it, isn't it, with Brad Pitt? Is that the one?
Brad Pitt is involved in it.
Yeah. I think Brad Pitt plays a driver in it, and I think doesn't Lewis Hamilton?
Lewis Hamilton's an executive producer, I know that much. And
Or is it based on Lewis Hamilton?
no, it's not based
No,
on
it's just
Lewis
it's just a movie.
Ah, okay.
And
Hollywood
I
one.
think Lewis Hamilton is also the consultant.
Right.
I think they just want creative direction. I guess.
Yeah.
Just go and ask Nelson Piquet.
Just don't have Lewis picking the wardrobe, for fuck's sake.
Oh, gosh. Well, it is Hollywood, so...
Yeah,
So it's a made-up story. It's not a story from the grid in
It's-
history.
It's not all about Lewis.
No. I thought it was a movie about Lewis, actually. That's what I thought it was about.
No.
We'll get one eventually, trust me.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, we did have a race alongside the celebrities that we're watching from the pit garages. The 2022 British Grand Prix from Silverstone. All right. Have we got some stuff to talk about? Lap 1. Carlos Sainz starts on pole position for the first time ever in his Ferrari from Red Bull's Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen jumps Carlos Sainz off the start. George Russell moves slightly left and is tapped by Pierre Gasly. Russell's Mercedes firing into Zhou Guanyu's Alfa Romeo, which flips onto its roof and slides halo side down across the tarmac and into the gravel trap, bouncing up over the tyre barrier and into the catch fencing, where it became wedged. Alex Albon is hit in the rear by Sebastian Vettel in the concertina effect and cannons into the pit wall, spinning back onto the track and collecting Esteban Ocon. A red flag is triggered and Zhou Guanyu is safely extracted from his car after about 15 minutes. Meanwhile, protesters invade the track and are swiftly arrested. Mercedes ask if George Russell can restart the race, and the FIA denies them. Lap 2. The race restarts from a standing start from original grid order. Carlos Sainz from Max Verstappen. Carlos Sainz holds off Max Verstappen this time, who is squeezed wide. Sergio Perez running side by side with his teammate, but gets front wing damage as Charles Leclerc gets past him into third. It's actually Charles Leclerc that got wing damage from Sergio Perez. Lando Norris sweeps around the outside of Lewis Hamilton into fifth. Lap 6, Sergio Perez pits for wing damage. Lewis Hamilton passes Lando Norris. Carlos Sainz on lap 10 loses the rear of his Ferrari through the Maggots Chapel and Beckett chicane and slips onto the grass. Max Verstappen pouncing into the lead of the British Grand Prix. Lap 11, Yuki Tsunoda spins, hitting AlphaTauri teammate Pierre Gasly as they spin out in synchronization. Lap 13, Carlos Sainz retakes the lead of the race as Max Verstappen hits a piece of carbon fiber and suffers a puncture. Lap 14, Max Verstappen's Red Bull is loose in the rear, his car losing traction in the corners. He admits the car is broken, but his team say it's not critical bodywork damage and would like him to continue. Yuki Tsunoda gets a 5-second time penalty for his spin with Gasly. Lap 20, Carlos Sainz pits to cover off Hamilton's potential undercut. Fresh C1 compound tyres going on his Ferrari. Lap 21, Valtteri Bottas retires in the pit lane in the sole remaining Alfa Romeo. Lap 24, Max Verstappen stops for a set of hard tyres, but his Red Bull isn't gripping up. Lap 26, Charles Leclerc pits from the lead of the race for a fresh set of hard tyres. Lap 31, Charles Leclerc swaps position with Carlos Sainz to try and cover off Lewis Hamilton's pit window. Lap 34, Lewis Hamilton stops from the lead of the race for a set of fresh hard tyres. A slow stop sees him fall behind both Ferraris. Lap 37, Carlos Sainz is told to fuel manage in second place. Esteban Ocon slips past a struggling Max Verstappen into 8th. Lap 39, Esteban Ocon's Alpine conks out on the back straight, triggering a safety car. Lap 40, Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton pit for fresh soft compound tyres. Charles Leclerc stays out. Lap 43, Carlos Sainz jumps Charles Leclerc into the lead off the restart. Sergio Perez jumps Lewis Hamilton into third. Lap 46, Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez get tangled up, and Hamilton jumps both of them into third place. But Perez takes the place back with Alonso and Norris arriving on the scene. Lap 48, Hamilton gets past Leclerc, but Leclerc gets back past at Copse. Hamilton getting back into third place down the hangar straight. And lap 52, Carlos Sainz breaks the duck at last, winning the Silverstone Grand Prix from Red Bull's Sergio Perez and Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton gets fastest lap on the final lap, and Sergio Perez gets driver of the day.
In fourth place was Charles Leclerc for Ferrari. Fifth place was Fernando Alonso in the Alpine. Sixth place was Lando Norris in the McLaren. Seventh is current world champion Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Eighth breaking the duck as well was Mick Schumacher in the Haas, getting his first points in F1.
Good on you, kid.
9th was Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin. And 10th was Kevin Magnussen in the other Haas.
Double points finish for Haas.
11th was Lance Stroll. 12th was Nicholas Latifi.
Ooh.
They finished line astern. Woohoo. 13th was Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren. 14th was Yuki Tsunoda. And then the DNFs were Ocon, Gasly, Bottas, George Russell, Zhou Guanyu, and Alex Albon. So,
What a race.
What a race.
Particularly the last 10 laps. That was just...
We had everything this
The scrap
race
between
weekend.
the two Ferraris, Sergio Perez and Hamilton.
That was great, wasn't
That
it?
was brilliant. The last 10 laps was like, you know, when Perez and Leclerc got tangled up and Hamilton swept them and the crowd went nuts.
Yeah, that was awesome.
When
scenes,
Hamilton
wasn't it?
swept them, it was actually Hamilton up into second, not up into third.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the sound of the crowd. It looked like Hamilton might have been on for a win.
Oh, that's right. I actually have to correct you on something from your report.
Oh.
So, Max Verstappen thought he had a puncture. He didn't. He didn't have a puncture. And then he was still complaining about traction issues when they put the hard tyres on. He actually had a hole in his floor,
Oh, shit.
and it was stuffing the Venturi tunnels up. That's
Yeah.
why he had no grip.
Yeah, right. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they said it was non-critical bodywork damage.
Yeah, no, it was fucking critical.
And it was pretty critical.
Because I actually watched Ted's Notebook at lunch today.
Yep.
And he was saying, yeah, there was nothing wrong with the tyre. And then it was revealed that there was a hole in his floor.
Right. Yeah, right.
It just shows how fragile a Formula One car is.
Yeah.
I mean, aerodynamically, if one little thing goes wrong, the whole aerodynamic concept of that car
Out the window,
is
yeah.
completely stuffed.
How compromised your race. You go from winning this race to battling for 7th.
That one hole made the Red Bull look like a dog box.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And there are apparent rumours about the Mercedes and the porpoising, how they've somewhat fixed the porpoising.
Well, it didn't seem to be an issue these last couple races since Baku.
They think they might have a flexible floorboard.
As in, they've already put it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that legal?
Apparently not.
So they've
Ooh.
put
But-
it in and it's not legal.
But no one's complained because no one can prove it.
It's so low to the ground, you're not going to be able to see if it's flexing.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, you'd have to get to a certain track. Well, they're going to Red Bull Ring. You'd have
Yeah.
to get slow-mo cameras and at maximum downforce see if it's flexing, but it's so low to the ground.
I think the FIA is going to have a look at it.
Oh,
But they're going to have a look at a lot of teams to see what teams have got flexible floorboards.
Yeah, right.
Well, you reckon some teams might already have that.
Yeah.
That's how they've
I think
gotten
some other
past it.
teams have got it, and Mercedes have gone, what if we try that?
Right.
So it could be up in the air. They could actually ratify the rules
To
too.
allow it.
So, and
Well, if they
allow it.
catch a few teams doing it and these are the teams that have got like a good record with purpose, like porpoising, it's not a problem, then I'm fine with it being passed for something on the grid.
Yeah.
But
Who do you guys think should have been... Who are your drivers of the day?
Well, I legitimately logged on and voted for Sergio Perez.
Okay, so Sergio Perez.
Yeah, and he got it, so...
Yeah, I probably would go Sergio myself too.
I'm kind of torn. It's a three-way tie for me.
Yeah. Yep.
It's between Carlos Sainz,
Yep.
yeah, breaking the duck, Mick Schumacher,
Yep.
getting
Breaking
the points,
duck.
and this one, he was only in the race for one lap, not even one lap, and it's not Zhou Guanyu. It's actually George Russell.
Yeah.
My reason being, if you watch the footage, after Zhou Guanyu goes into the wall and Russell pulls over, he actually gets out of the car and goes to run over to see if Zhou's okay.
Yeah, he does.
Because you
And-
see the marshal sitting there going, no, you got to go this way, you got to go this way. And he's just like legging it over there.
Yeah, he ran across the sand trap to see if
Yeah.
Zhou Guanyu was okay, which
Um,
was actually the reason why he couldn't restart the race.
Which I felt sorry for him because he explained it after. He said, I said to the marshals, leave the car
Yeah,
there.
don't touch the
So he
car.
had a chance once he tried to help Zhou. He could have potentially got the car going again and got back to the pit, but they moved it by the time he come back.
Yeah, as
So
soon
I
as
kind
the
of felt
marshal-
bad for him because he did get out of the car and go check. And I want to see that. Like, I don't want to see drivers not be able to get back on because they've done that. But I understand. Unfortunately, it's the way the rule is written. Like, you couldn't undo that. You couldn't allow him to.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was just kind of a shame, I guess, that they did move his car and he couldn't try it. But
kudos to George Russell, man.
yeah, kudos to him.
And like Alex Albon put up a photo from hospital because he went to hospital as well.
He got more checked out than Zhou. He actually got flown to the hospital. Zhou never left the track.
Yeah, because he would have registered, I think the limit's 51G. He would have been taken to the hospital for head-on impact with the concrete barrier.
Well,
Yeah.
His thing would have registered over 50G.
he
Yeah.
put up a photo, I think, on Instagram where he's like, I'm okay. More importantly, I'm glad Zhou Guanyu's okay.
Yeah.
And he gave the thumbs up in the photo.
Yeah,
it's
and then
just
Zhou Guanyu was like back at the track like an hour later talking to Stefano Domenicali.
that I actually watched that. I like Stefano's like patting the back of his head and shit. I'm just sitting there going, this is creepy.
It is, isn't it?
This is
There's
just
a bit Catholic Church going on.
But,
a bit popey, wasn't it? Yeah.
Getting a bit, it's
Yeah.
getting a bit popey.
But that crash with Zhou, Russell, and Pierre Gasly.
What a prang it was.
And more importantly, did you see the one I had up on Facebook? The crowd shot from front on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That car nearly jumped the catch fencing into the grandstand.
yeah,
That's terrifying.
Oh, what's terrifying as well was watching that car flip so quickly onto its like upside down and just scraped along the ground. All I could think was, thank God we have the halo.
Yeah.
Imagine this without the halo. Like,
Oh, he's dead.
he's dead, you know?
He's dead.
And
He's dead because beyond that, he's going head first into the catch fencing as well
yeah,
Yeah.
without the halo.
yeah,
So if his neck isn't already snapped by the gravel trap,
yeah,
he's going to snap his neck hitting the catch fencing. And drivers in the 70s died that way.
yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
There was someone at Zandvoort who snapped his neck going head first in the catch fencing. The exact same way as Zhou Guanyu did.
And with the halo, he's able to walk away from this an hour later and be at the track walking around.
Yeah.
Yep. Same with
You know?
same with the F2 boys.
Yep, yep.
You know, he had a
Saved the
car
driver's
landed
life.
on his head and he's fine because it didn't land on his head, it landed on the halo.
Unfortunately, I can't wish the same thing for those fucking protesters.
Oh my God.
fuck's sake!
They need jail time.
I
That
mean,
is
they're-
so dangerous because they did you see them? They just sat on the track?
Yeah, they sat in the middle of the Wellington Straight.
Imagine if a car come along and doesn't see him till and hits they're dead. The driver's potentially dead or traumatized for the rest of his life. People watching are traumatized for the rest of their life. Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
I
And
don't mean you're protesting against fossil fuel use at a sport that's that's going to be a world leader in being carbon neutral.
yeah,
They were already on their way to being carbon neutral.
yeah. Before you
You're
arrived,
protesting the
protesters.
wrong sport.
Yeah.
You need to go to like the mud speedways in America where they're doing monster truck rallies.
And
Yeah.
and yet
Go there.
Ted, again in Ted's notebook from Sky Sports, he was saying they weren't protesting F1. They were just protesting fossil fuel use. But even he was
Why?
just like, you've picked the wrong sport to do it.
Formula One is the world motorsport leader in going carbon offset.
I mean, if
They
if,
want fully sustainable fuel by 2030.
if you want to do that at MotoGP, I mean,
Even
Yeah.
MotoGP's got
Don't do it
10%
anywhere. I
ethanol
mean,
now.
there's other ways
Yeah.
to go about your protesting other than endangering other people's lives. Like,
Why do you
it's
have to go to the biggest sporting event in Britain? There were 400,000 people at Silverstone this weekend.
Yeah.
Why do you have to go there and ruin 400,000 people's weekend and
Yep.
20 drivers' weekends for your own selfish bullshit,
Yeah,
for your 5 seconds of fame?
yeah. Figure out another way to go about your protests. Like, and the worst part about it is what their message is, which is, to go greener and look after the planet. We all bloody agree with. It's like not all of us aren't here like, fuck carbon, we want to pump it into the air. Like, the sport they're literally protesting it as a world leader and trying to get away from that. Everyone watching agrees with it and is on board, and they're there protesting. It's like, you've got to make people hate your message.
But
Not
you're
be a
preaching
part of
to
it.
the converted.
Yeah.
You know.
You're not going to find a Formula One fan sitting there saying, I don't want Formula One to go carbon neutral. I'm sitting there embracing the fact that if this sustainable fuel works, it's going to be filtered down into road cars, and we're not going to have to worry about EVs. I got nothing against electric cars, but we're not ready for them. Infrastructurally, and lithium-ion batteries are so hard to mine and recycle and all that shit. You know, instead, we can have an oil-free synthetic fuel that works the same way as fuel we have now, without the, the pollution and whatever.
I mean,
and Formula One's working towards that. Like,
we're-
I'm all on board for that. I don't want to charge my car like a mobile phone. I want to fill my car full of synthetic fuel at the Bowser.
That's a great excuse for not being able to go to work the next day. I forgot to put my car on the charge.
Yeah, my dog knocked the charger off.
But, I mean, the fact, and I don't want to get into this is sort of going sideways from it. I mean, coal burning is always going to be something that we've got to do. It's the only way we can get steel hot enough to melt it and that type of thing.
Yeah, and electricity.
That's right. But, they're things that we need, but we've got Formula One and other motorsports around the world working on biofuels
Trying to make the planet better.
Yeah, to minimise that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, your protest is in vain because we're already working. It's not like it's not the 70s. Like, oh, we're bringing it to your attention now. The global warming and the shit like that. Like,
They're protesting to the world leaders in fuel technologies that's going to make it better.
Everyone knows it's an issue, and everyone's already working on minimising their impact. Like you guys said, and we keep going in circles, so we'll move on. Preaching to the choir.
Well, to me, these people seem like those fucking idiots that buy tickets to go to, I don't know, we'll use for an example 30 Seconds to Mars. They buy a ticket to go and see 30 Seconds to Mars so they can sit there and yell shit at them.
Well, that was the problem. They bought
The
tickets
Impress
to
Me
30
Bros.
Seconds to Mars,
Yeah, but
Hey, they've got like two good songs.
But the concept of giving 30 Seconds to Mars money for a ticket
To go
so
abuse
you can
them in
go
person.
and yell at them that they suck.
Yeah,
Like, they're not going to give a shit. Like, you just...
you paid them.
You paid them.
yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
It obviously seems to be a thing. This whatever this mob is that's doing this, because it's happened a few times recently. Didn't it happen at the tennis? Someone come out and chained themselves to the fence,
Yeah, but that's tennis.
and I think it's happened at the soccer.
It's the only way they're going to get broadcast on a national scale that isn't Facebook.
But the thing is you don't even see it anyway. Like, you didn't see any on the Formula One. You only seen it offline on Facebook.
Yeah, the
and
only
stuff.
reason I
So-
saw it is because WTF1 put the photo up on Twitter.
Yeah, you're
It's
not.
like, oh,
You're
those
not
protesters
seeing
on the
it
track.
on the live. The only people who are going to find it are people that are like
At the track.
at the track or so into the sport they look everything up after it.
Yeah.
The average watcher is not going to see it because it's not coming on the live feed.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll move on. But it's bloody fucking stupid.
Okay, well, we go from a negative to a positive, though. And it was Carlos Sainz's first win.
Yeah,
Hey!
boy. Woo!
I'm proud of the boy. I
Pumped for
really
it.
am.
That was
He's
pumped.
yeah.
I'm proud of the boy, too. Unfortunately, my $50 investment in him, he's not going to win the championship from here, I don't think. I mean, he's going to have to keep winning every race from here to do it. So
And
I hope this is the start of good things, Carlos. I
And
have
the-
faith in you.
Come on, Carlos.
And the thing is that, like, all race, I thought he was going to get team orders to step aside and let
He
Charles
was.
come up
He
a bunch
was,
of
and
times.
He did.
And he did.
Right before the last safety car, he's like, give Charles a 10 car length thing to like to give him a buffer, and Carlos is like, don't make me do this, I'm not going to do this. And he didn't. And he stuck to his guns and told Ferrari to piss off, and he got his first race win out of it.
Good.
And that's a lesson Ferrari needs to learn.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, earlier in the race, Matteo Binotto said on Sky Sports, we're going to let the drivers fight.
Yep.
We're going to let them race. And I mean, Charles Leclerc can sit there and be pissy. And do I think that they should have let Charles Leclerc win? Sure, because you want him to fight for the championship. But how long?
He wasn't in a position to win the race by the time this
No,
happened.
he had a
where
break.
they stuffed up,
They
though, he could
botched.
have been angry, is they had 10 seconds to pit him on that last safety car to go to the softs. He was on the hards,
Yeah.
and they didn't pit him, but they pitted Sainz and everyone else who was in contention sort of pitted for those softs. And
Well,
yeah,
Well, that was going to be my next point, is just the Ferrari strategy call rears its ugly head again. That's the only blemish that Ferrari did all weekend. Was
I don't understand why they didn't make that call. Like, you wouldn't even need 10 seconds to tell me to make that call.
part of me thinks that because of his broken front wing, he wouldn't have been able to maintain it anyway.
He was doing pretty well on those used hards. Like, to finish fourth, he did well. I mean, he was right in that battle with Hamilton and Perez.
And I mean,
Again, you're right. Maybe with the compromised wing, he might not still probably just got what he got. But don't you give it a shot? Don't you give him the best opportunity to do what he can do on track? And that was probably the call.
I think that they went with the best option they could. And Binotto said post-race, because there was the photo going around of Binotto in front of Charles Leclerc, and he's pointing his finger at him.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, this is bad. But Charles has got to understand a couple of things. Like, he's in a team, and it's a team sport.
Yeah.
Like, it is an individual driver sport, but it's a team sport. Carlos was the faster of the two drivers over the race.
Yep.
And he can't always have it his own way.
And good on Binotto for putting him straight, which is what it looked like.
And the final thing is that Binotto said we made the best decision for the team that we could.
They got him the win, so
And, Leclerc's got points. He's still in the fight.
more points than Verstappen, which is
Yeah.
what he can be
So-
asking for at this point.
So it might not have been a win, but, Carlos Sainz got the confidence boost that he needed.
Definitely.
And Charles Leclerc has just got to take a chill pill and just realise some days you got to let your teammate win.
Yeah.
It's just the way it fucking happens.
It was the most logical decision. You're stuck on hard tyres. Everyone behind you on soft tyres. You're also missing the end plate on your front wing.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to hold him, even if Carlos had given him the 10 car length buffer that Ferrari somehow wanted. Carlos would have eventually caught him anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been pointless. Like, it would have given Charles Leclerc 2 laps reprieve.
Yeah.
He would have been caught anyway. So, good. I'm glad Carlos Sainz told Ferrari to sit down, and he made his own call, and he got his race win, because, Ferrari need to learn that, you've got a driver that can win the Grand Prix. You don't always have to bend it to one driver.
And I mean, earlier in the race, they asked him to step aside and let Charles screw. And
Yep,
was
you
just
already
like, "Yep."
played. You already played the team game.
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah. When it gets to the end, you allow him to go to win his own race.
Yep.
You don't compromise after the race. The weekend he had, you don't compromise his race for Charles in that, unless it was Charles was to win the world championship final race.
And, my way of seeing it is Charles has got to understand, like, Carlos stood aside for him and let him through.
Yep, at that time. And
At that time, he's got to pay it back.
That's right. And at the time they made the call, it was good for Sainz. I'm still on I can understand if he was like, why couldn't I have jumped on the softs too? But at the end of the day, if they looked at it and went, well, we're just going to give Carlos the best go, and then hopefully Leclerc can maybe hold up some of these cars to not catch Sainz, it got Ferrari the win. So it's still the right call, essentially. I mean, he can't be upset because it was Sainz's day, and he should be happy for that. It's not always going to be his, but I can understand if he just wanted to be like, I would have liked to have had a shot on the softs too, because I always want to go for it. But don't be upset that, you caught fourth and Sainz won, and why didn't it go like... The scenes where it looked like Binotto was having to put him in his place looked like Leclerc was having a big whinge, and it's not a great look.
Yeah.
In the scheme of what happened, he should be happy. Sainz got a win, he got fourth. Verstappen got seventh. Good day for Ferrari.
Yeah.
That's how you got to look at it.
Yeah.
We can talk a little bit in the debrief about should I have got softs or hards, but
I mean,
there's time and place for it.
They should have put Leclerc on the softs, but then they would have had to have double stacked, and that could have...
Adds more risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's easy for me to go, I would have just chucked him on the softs. But what if they did that and they botched the pit stop and both of them stuffed out? You know, like
Yeah.
McLaren did the other week.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. So, you know, at the end of the day, like, you have that conversation and debrief, and Ferrari, that's what Ferrari are most likely going to say. We weighed that up and we didn't want to go that, and you easily eat that on the chin and move on. It's not a bad call. But it's a bad look for Leclerc to look very, very upset that,
Yeah.
you know, at the end, the decision favoured Sainz. It favoured Ferrari.
Yeah.
You know, that's what the decision was.
Yeah. But another good point, or happy point.
Hold on, I've got a point for you, Sam. Last podcast, you told me Jean Alesi had never won a race for Ferrari.
Yeah.
He's on that list.
Is he?
Do you want to know the winner of the 1995 Canadian Grand Prix?
It was Jean Alesi in a
Yeah.
Benetton.
It was John Alesi. It was John Alesi, but he's on the winners list as a Ferrari winner.
Have they just counted him as because he's won a Grand Prix before? They've just counted him as one, even though he didn't do it for
40th
Ferrari?
Ferrari Grand Prix winner. Yeah, he's on the Ferrari list, but he won the 1995 Canadian Grand Prix. I'm going to have to find out what car he won it in now.
95. Yeah, he would have been in Ferrari. You've corrected me.
I have corrected
You have corrected me. 10 points for fucking Gryffindor.
John Alesi took his only Grand Prix round at the 1995 Grand Prix in Montreal in the number 27 Ferrari.
There you go.
Oh, well.
Keeping ourselves honest here, folks.
Keeping me honest.
Got to keep ourselves honest, boys.
Speaking,
I just saw his name up there. I'm like, you lied to me.
well, speaking of keeping it honest and getting points, Mick Schumacher.
Yes,
Yay! He
I
finally
s-
did it.
I
Did
wanted
you
him to get
see-
Verstappen at the end there too.
Did you see at the post-race pan, like, he's talking to he was talking to Martin, not Martin Brundle, Mean Boy. Will Buxton.
Will Buxton.
Will Buxton. And Seb Vettel ducks under the rope, gives him a big hug. And he's like, you did it. I told you you'd do it. He's like, I was screaming. He was like, I was looking up at the leaderboard because Seb was coming like 11th or 13th or whatever it was. And he's like, I was screaming on my helmet, come on, Mick, get there. And he did it. And he almost got Max on the line.
Yeah, he did. He pushed him in the
What
last
a-
couple of
I
laps.
know Max car had a massive hole in the diffuser, but what drive.
Yeah.
What a drive.
Yeah.
Name someone who needed to earn points more than him.
John Lacey.
John Alesi, 1995 Canadian Grand Prix winner, John Alesi.
I got my redemption.
Oh, this is great for him as well, though, because this gets the monkey off his back. I reckon this is actually going to help him because it relieves that pressure. He's
And-
got the points now. Just continue with this. you
Well,
know?
as I was watching Ted's Notebook again,
Gotta love Ted's notebook.
I,
Yeah,
I love Ted's notebook,
Yeah,
but
this
I
is
actually
Ted's
missed
Notebook.
it. I,
Well,
love Ted Kravitz. I think he's
He,
great.
the entire of Team Haas actually posed in the pit lane for a photo with him. Like Kevin Magnussen had his arm around him. Gene Haas was there.
Oh, really?
Gene Haas was in the photo. They had to wait for all the teams to drag their cars past. And like Red Bull's dragging their car past, and one of the guys pushing the car, here's Ted say, "Oh, we're just getting another car through, but we're going to take a team photo." And the Red Bull guy's like, "Yeah!" Throws the horns up. And everyone had a big chuckle. They took the team photo, and then someone had brought along a bottle of champagne, but it still had the wire thing on top.
Yeah.
And Mick's trying to undo the wire thing so he can spray the champagne around. But they interviewed Gene Haas, and Gene Haas was like, it's a fantastic day for him. You know, he deserves it. We're super proud of him. We're super proud of the team. And this is just the beginning. Hopefully he gets more points.
Yeah.
Good on him.
You know? So, yeah.
Alright, that's the
Hopefully this is
confidence
the
boost.
settling race he needed to get the confidence to continue
Yeah.
with his talent going forward. Because it was looking a little bit like, oh no, Mick, what have we got here? We've got a guy that's going to crash himself out of the sport, you know?
I mean, after a few weeks ago where Gunther Steiner had a chat with him and said, mate, you crash anymore, you're out.
Yeah, he
Like,
said,
your
Roman is
contract's
better
gonna-
driver.
Well, clearly from the IndyCar race last night, Roman is not better driver.
No, sir.
Right. So we get to the news items. First news item. Pierre Gasly is racing for AlphaTauri in 2023.
Mustn't have had the options anywhere.
Does that confirm Daniel Ricciardo staying at McLaren for 2023?
Yeah, well, I think I heard that even though Zach Brown was the one to say there was ways to get out of the contract, I think it's Danny Rick's choice, those ways, not McLaren. So.
Yeah, Danny Rick has got the option to leave.
Yes.
Not McLaren.
So, yeah, I think he'll stay for his third year because he won't have options anywhere else and he'll need a redemption year.
And
yeah, exactly.
I think Pierre Gasly is sort of bum out of options.
He had none. This is the only play. He's got to keep taking 1 year deals until a seat opens up.
Take a 1 year deal and see if the McLaren seats opens in 24.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that Red Bull really does not have anyone coming up.
No,
Like,
they don't.
That's why I asked you the question about the F2
Well,
earlier.
the guy actually that was probably getting pipped to maybe make his way through up the Red Bull ranks was Yuri Vips.
And now Vips has been pipped.
Yeah, he has. He's been
He
pipped
has
by his
because-
own silliness.
He's been terminated for a racial slur on a live stream.
Yes.
He dropped the N-word.
That was
silly boy.
another Red Bull driver's live stream too, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
I can't remember who it was, but it was another Formula 2 driver. But might have even been Teo Pourchaire.
No, it wasn't Teo
Yeah,
Pourchaire.
it was another Red Bull driver. Anyway, yeah, so he said some silly things that he
It was
shouldn't
Liam
have.
Lawson.
Liam Lawson, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's been terminated from Red Bull. No longer, I mean, he's still currently racing for High Tech and Formula 2, but
Yeah.
he's not a Red Bull
He's not a
contracted driver anymore.
Yeah, he's not a Red Bull Academy driver.
So he's.
So Vips
I don't
is
know what
out,
happens
and
here for him.
Lawson would be the only one that would really step up, but he's good, but he's not good.
What about Drogovic?
The leader for Red Bull would be Daruvla right now, and that's
Yeah.
only because he's in his what I would call his senior year. He's in his third year.
Yeah.
He is up there at the moment, and he is racing pretty well, but he's still not screaming like
Talent.
give me an AlphaTauri seat, if that makes sense. Like at the moment, their best lineup is still to have Gasly and Tsunoda next year.
Yeah, and Perez isn't going anywhere, so
No,
I think those 4 seats are set at least for another 12 months.
yeah, maybe 20 once Gasly moves on, that might be interesting. That might open up for Lawson or
24 will be interesting. The end of 23, if Gasly's still there and Ricciardo does get terminated from McLaren, that'll be an interesting time.
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
So yeah, Pierre Gasly is staying with AlphaTauri in 2023, and Yuri Vips has run his mouth. Same as the next person, which is Nelson Piquet,
Yeah,
calling Lewis Hamilton all the
the N-word in Portuguese.
Yeah.
Now,
He's tried to argue that the word he said can be translated to buddy or guy as well.
Why even say it?
But-
Why not just say buddy and guy in Portuguese?
But all the Portuguese is just like, nah,
Yeah.
that's not what he said. In
I-
the context, that is not what he said.
I have this question though, because like F1 put up a post saying, we do not condone racism in Formula One from current drivers, all the bizzo, and then they made a big point of saying something about Lewis Hamilton, and I actually wrote this on the F1 on their F1 on the post page on Facebook. And I'm going to pose this as a question to you two. If this comment that Nelson Piquet had made had been about, say, Zhou Guan Yu or Yuki Tsunoda, would F1 actually give a shit? Would they do
Yes. Yeah.
as much as they've done?
Yeah.
Because
I mean, they wouldn't have an exclusive Lewis Hamilton interview before the race with those other two people.
no,
Did you see that one? The young kids that were interviewing Lewis. I don't know. I glanced at the interview, but I just thought it was real good timing, because they were black kids, and Lewis Hamilton's black, and they were talking about, oppression and la la la, and I just thought it was a real convenient timing to have that interview after that incident happens. It's like, oh, I'm a young...
It's obviously recourse to that happening. That
I assume so. It's like,
Yeah.
because they're two 19-year-old kids. And they're like, we've suffered oppression and, we want to stand up for the minority and in much the way that you, Lewis Hamilton, have stood up for yourself in Formula One. And it's just like, timing. Timing. They've made a song and dance about it again.
Yeah, but I think they're making a song and dance about it because it's Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton didn't give a shit about the comment. Lewis Hamilton said, I don't care. It's like, it's not the first time I've heard it and it won't be the last time I've heard it. He didn't give a shit. And then the media's like, let's play it up because it's something to do.
They got to get clicks. So
it's like, well, Sky Sports is like, we've got these two young people from this organisation that are, young black, not activists. They're, I guess activist is the word, but like, they help the minority get noticed sort of thing. And they've made a whole interview before the race about it. And
let's put it this way. If it was, as you're saying, had been a driver of another ethnicity on the grid, say it had been Yuki Tsunoda, I think they would have done the same thing of condemning it. They would have come out with the same message. And have they actually banned PK from...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they probably would have done that, but you wouldn't have got an interview before the race. Like, it gets more publicity because it's Lewis Hamilton. That's just natural.
Yeah.
And I think...
But I think they would still have the same stance. It just wouldn't have been blown up as big.
The trap we keep falling into is we're watching the Sky Sports feed, which is a British feed.
bias. And we're coming up to Silverstone.
Which is more British bias.
All it is talking to them.
It's just like, this is an easy... This is like the rugby league journalist on a Sunday that's got a writer's block. and then a player says something dumb off the field.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just wrote my article for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I needed that.
I was going to say, it's just like listening to Phil Gould's State of Origin commentary.
Yeah.
Or any commentary.
I mean, I will say this about State of Origin. They did an interview before the second half of the last game.
I'm so glad I was at a reception
where
for that
it was
game.
It was Paul Gallen interviewing Brad Fittler.
Oh, God.
And I swear to God, it was the audible equivalent of watching two retarded people try and communicate with sign language.
It's just like,
just
can you feel your brain cells dying?
Yeah.
Two guys. Brad Fittler cannot string a sentence together.
Yeah, and then
Andrew Johns is no better. And then they're together on commentary on Channel 9.
Do you want to know something even worse? The bloody Macca's ad with the Johns brothers.
Oh.
Oh my God!
I like
Is that not
Matty.
the worst ad ever?
I like Matty Johns.
It's cringe.
I know
it's
it's
so
cringe.
bad.
It's like, you've got a brother.
Yeah.
And people genuinely on Facebook is like, I had no idea Matty Johns and Andrew Johns were related.
Yeah.
And it's like the biggest facepalm moment.
Yeah.
It's like, seriously.
When you've got an idiot like Paul Gallen who can barely string words together, interviewing Brad Fittler who can barely string words together.
Well, unfortunately, that's mostly the kind of crop of talent you get from rugby league players.
Yeah.
I know that's a bit of a
Duh,
but
mate.
like
Too much
you
drop
don't,
ball, mate.
physical contact sports. You don't get a lot of geniuses that come out that are well written.
Cooper
after-
Cronk is.
Yeah,
Cooper
you get a
Cronk is.
few, but what position they generally play the more skilled
Halfback.
positions that yeah
Halfbacks.
don't get hit as often.
Halfbacks still have brain cells.
And then you've got Darren Lockyer on the try line, the sidelines, and it was a great game, guys. It was really fucking great. Fucking Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that.
I was trying to make it not sound like you, John.
Yeah,
I
good.
You're
really
doing too many
was.
John impressions before.
Right, I'm moving on. Moving on.
Back to Formula One.
Back to Formula One. Back to Formula. Right. So the next story is the apparent rumour that Audi has bought Sauber.
Yeah.
We saw this coming.
Yep.
We almost called this.
And so from 2026, the team we currently know as Alfa Romeo is going to no longer be called Alfa Romeo. And it's not going to have Sauber engineering. It will be Audi F1.
Is Sauber done?
Nice.
Is this
Yeah.
the end of Peter Sauber?
He hasn't been associated with the team for a few years.
So it's going to be purely Audi sport out of Germany.
Clean slate bought.
They've
Audi.
bought the facilities and everything. Lock, stock, the
Where
fucking
are
lot.
they based?
Switzerland.
Oh, so they bought the Sauber factory.
Yeah, Sauber Engineering.
Wow, that's cool.
I think they own 60% of it.
That's cool.
But
So
they're looking to buy lock,
Audi's
stock,
gonna
the
have-
fucking lot.
So this will be the
A
They
works
will
team.
obviously want to run Audi engines
Yep.
come 26 too. So this will
Yep.
be like the Audi.
This is gonna be a works
like-
team.
Yeah, Audi Works team.
This is great for Valtteri.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I mean they were originally trying to do it with McLaren.
Yeah.
Then there were rumours they were going to try and do it with Aston Martin.
I couldn't see it happening with Aston Martin. The only reason the McLaren thing came up was because they almost went broke.
Yeah.
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 There was rumours they were going to try and do it with Williams. But
Yeah.
I think Durelton Capital went, no, we want to keep the Williams name on the grid.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm glad about that.
And then they went with Sauber.
Sauber was the only other option.
And I think Sauber is the best fit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Alfa Romeo needed probably a change. That team needed a change, I think.
And I think
And
the
this
best...
makes it a works team, which is the most exciting part.
And they're no longer like a satellite team for Ferrari.
That's what I mean. They're going to be a competitive team on their
Yep.
own right because they're going to fall on their own sword.
And I mean,
instead of relying-
the last time a team bought Sauber, was a car manufacturer, was BMW, and they did really well,
God, I
particularly
love
with
those
Robert
BMWs.
Kubica.
Those BMW V10 engines live in my heart forever.
Yeah.
They're so good.
And then they pulled out at the same time as Toyota and sold the team back to Peter Sauber.
Yeah.
You know, so I think Audi's on a really good wicket there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Now, there's an even bigger rumour. And it was the race that was talking about this being a possibility for 2026. Honda might be returning to Formula One
What with their
As
own
their own
team?
team?
as their own team because they're pretty sure that 2026 Red Bull are going to be running Porsche engines.
Right, so Honda won't be a
So-
part out of anything.
So Honda is taking back the IP of their engine that is currently the Red Bull powertrain, even though Honda is still actually building the engines and making parts and servicing them.
Still a HPC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to have their own works team.
Hell
Yes.
yes.
I'm excited for that too.
2020.
Out of
26.
Japan?
I think they're going to have a factory in the UK still.
I think it's easier for Formula One teams to have factories in Europe,
Yeah, it is. I know.
than it is to have one overseas.
I know. It'd be
Where's
lovely.
Haas based? They're at Maranello, aren't
Yeah,
they?
with Ferrari.
Yeah, so I think it's just easier to have a European base,
Yeah, it makes sense.
despite the team being from Japan or being from Germany or whatever. You know, even Mercedes is based in England, so
And which also means that Red Bull will not be able to show Porsche the current RBR power unit.
Right, so Red Bull's got to go.
Porsche's going to have to
completely
make it
off
on their
Porsche's
own.
Yeah.
Yep. Which
That's a
also
gamble.
means that if Yuki Tsunoda is still on the grid in 2026, he's going to leave the Red Bull system and go
Easy. Yeah.
to Honda.
He'll be in Honda for sure.
Yeah,
Him or Owasa, who's another Red Bull junior who's driving in Formula 2.
yeah. I'd love to see Honda with two Japanese drivers.
Yeah.
That'd be badass.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Or at least one. At least one.
Yeah.
It's always cool when you've got a team with a driver of the same nationality that the teams come from.
Yeah,
always
no, but
cool,
I think of Honda and my first driver in my head's Jenson Button, but
Yeah.
you know, but
He's not making a comeback.
he's
Yeah.
not. He's not. He's doing well in commentary.
But the other sort of part of that goes with this rumor is that it's not going to be like a brand new team. It will be a Honda team, but they are going to actually take over AlphaTauri.
Really?
Oh, okay. But does that mean they're still going to be associated with Red Bull to some point?
No,
No,
So Red Bull's going to cut its B team.
that's the rumor.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think they should,
Red Bull's never not had a B team.
I think that they should just go their own.
I'm cool with it. Like, I'm not a massive fan of B teams. I think your B team should be in Formula 2. So I'm happy if that's what happens, but I'm just interested. I thought Red Bull would want to keep a B slot like they have in
Well,
AlphaTauri.
Like the race said, like that's a very, very high rumor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the more realistic rumor is that Honda is coming back as a works team in 2026.
I want to see 4 more cars on the grid.
Easy. Yep.
Or
24.
at least 2. I mean, if Honda's going to put 2 more cars on the grid, we're going to have 22 drivers.
Well, do you think that this might be a way of Formula One saying, sorry, Andretti, we really don't want you, and sort of push them out the door?
No, I
Because-
want them to want them.
Yeah.
Because like Liberty Media and F1 in particular has actually, like Stefano Domenicali has said, we don't really want new teams on the grid. And they keep referring to the teams more like NFL teams where they're franchises.
No, it doesn't work like that. They change too often.
I think Liberty Media is trying to Americanize it too much.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, look at Miami with Willie T. Ribs and all that.
He
I
had
got his-
relevance,
I got his-
Phil. We've
I
been
got-
through this.
I got his name right.
Best barbecue in all of Alabama.
I got his name right. That's why I dropped his name.
Yeah.
Also, I had to correct myself. He didn't actually race in Formula 1. He was a test driver.
Oh, you were giving me shit earlier
You should have
about
kept
Sean
that
Lacey.
quiet.
Oh,
In the episode of corrections, John Lacey has won a race. And Willie T. Ribs didn't actually race in Formula 1. He was a test driver.
So he wasn't the first black driver then to race?
He drove a Formula 1 car
Right,
as a
that's
but
black
he
man.
didn't race a Formula 1 car.
He didn't
drove
actually
it.
race. He was test driver.
Oh, turn it up, ball.
In the interest of fairness. It's like that Simpsons episode. It's like, in the interest of fairness, the following people are gay.
Oh.
Oh, this is exciting. This is what I want to hear. Rumours like this of new teams. And as JB said, I want to see 2 more teams, 24 cars. I'll be happy. I'll be happy. And if Honda comes in and takes over AlphaTauri and eliminates a B team and becomes its own team, I'm also here for that too, because I want to see every team gunning for the win, not, there only being 6 teams in it because the other 4 are either, so POV they're not going anywhere, or they're the B and C teams, I want to see every team racing in it for themselves.
That's what the salary cap's for.
Yeah, so this is exciting. This is good.
Yeah, look, I want them to be their own team, not just buy AlphaTauri and just go, yeah.
I'll be honest, I'd rather than buy AlphaTauri and eliminate the B team and get 2 new, if we had 2 new entries, if that makes sense. Like if you had to say to me, you could have Honda or Andretti, I'd say I'd rather have Honda take AlphaTauri out and Andretti than say just Honda or Andretti. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
As a new
Yeah.
team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and then the final story is that Scotty McLaughlin won the Mid-Ohio IndyCar race this morning as well. Good on Scotty McLaughlin.
Not bad.
Good on Scotty McLaughlin, although I'm a little torn. Because McLaren Arrow's Pato O'Ward started on pole and led that race for a while until his car gave up the ghost near the end. So I'm glad that the next best option was, if McLaren's not going to win the race, Scotty McLaughlin needs to win the race. And he did.
Hey, Grosjean in that race was just in full-on punt mode.
Was he full on 2012 mode? Crash
Yeah.
King?
Yeah, like he crashed out his teammate, for Christ's sake.
Oh boy.
I mean, his teammate was inside and just started drifting on out and just plowed into him. And Grosjean kept going. Like, I thought he hit the wall and was out. But no, he kept going. He drove on the grass and kept going. His teammate was out, though, with broken steering.
Yeah.
And then later on, he punted Colton Herter.
Yeah. By the way, the full race highlights is up on JB Sports Corner on Facebook, if you want to go check it out.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. Also, the NASCAR and the AFL and NRL ladders are up there.
Any other sports? Have you got the darts on there?
Not yet. I could get there. Australia won the World Cup.
Yeah, we did
Of
not too long
darts?
ago. Yeah.
I've got to do it. I've got to do it. Can I do it?
Yep.
180. That was one of the best nights ever when we went to the darts.
That was brilliant.
Darts
Actually,
was
the pro
wicked.
darts is
Darts
was
was
such
I
a
was-
cool
I was
sport.
trying to tell my boss about it, and she's just like, it just looks like it's a bunch of drunken bums in a
It is.
in a bar.
That's exactly what it
I've
is.
still got my Where's Wally costume in my closet from
Which-
that night because I went dressed with another bunch of Wallies.
Well,
Because we're Wallies.
My boss's father, who was like the guy who started the company, he actually played rugby league for Australia back in, I think it was the 50s or the 60s. So he's actually got his Australian jersey hanging up in the foyer,
Yeah.
like when you walk into my work. And so she's like, oh, yeah, the darts just looks like a bunch of, drunken bums, blah, blah, blah. And I've turned around and gone, how's that any different from an NRL game? How is that any different?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least you don't see punch-ups at the darts.
No, it's camaraderie and beer drinking.
Everyone's having a blast.
Especially the British ones where they're all like chanting and singing along. And
Yeah.
they're all dressed as beer bottles, man. I love that shit. It's so good to watch.
It's awesome.
And like I showed her a clip of it, and she's gone, "That's very different from what I thought it was." I'm like, "Well, don't fucking judge a cover book by its cover."
It's like 5,000 people in a room, and they're all drunk.
Yeah.
And they're all dressed up, and they're all like singing "Sweet Caroline." It's the greatest spectacle, man. It's so
is.
good.
Yeah.
What's that player? Is his name Phil Taylor?
Yeah, Phil Taylor.
There's only one
Phil Taylor.
One Phil Taylor. Wandering along, singing a song, walking in a field of woodland.
Yeah, they were singing that at the darts. There you go.
Great.
The F1 chat covers everything.
Shameless plug for JB Sports page.
Yeah, we'll put the darts up there now that you've requested it.
And the snooker.
I think, yeah, could do that. I mean, Wimbledon's on at the moment, so I got to keep track of
Are you
Wimbledon.
going to do esports as well?
Nah,
Oh, come
not a
on.
real
Halo.
it's not a real
Halo.
sport.
Halo.
It's like wrestling. It's not a real sport.
Don't
Although
take-
I have done wrestling plugs up on
Wait,
the
what?
page too.
Oh, no, we'll save that one for the wrestling one.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So, that's all the news items that I have. So we're going to go on to the driver standings. I'm going to hand it over to JB to do the driver standings.
All right, the driver standings. Current 2022 driver standings after the British Grand Prix. In first place is defending world champion Max Verstappen on 181 points for Red Bull. In second is his Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez on 147. Third is Ferrari's Charles Leclerc on 138. Fourth is his Ferrari teammate and recent race winner Carlos Sainz on 127 points. Fifth is Mercedes George Russell on 111. Sixth is Mercedes Lewis Hamilton on 93. Seventh is Lando Norris on 58, McLaren. Eighth is Alfa Romeo's Valtteri Bottas on 46. He's still in eighth. He hasn't done much lately, but he's still there. Ninth is Alpine's Esteban Ocon on 39, and 10th is Alpine's Fernando Alonso on 28.
I'm actually going to keep this going. So in 11th for AlphaTauri is Pierre Gasly. Tied with him is Kevin Magnussen from Haas. In 13th is Sebastian Vettel on 15 points, who's also tied with Daniel Ricciardo from McLaren. 15th is Yuki Tsunoda on 11. 16th is Zhou Guan Yu with 5 points. Moving all the way up from 20th to 17th with 4 points is Mick Schumacher.
Yay!
Yeah, get in there. Get in there, Lewis.
Get in there, Mick.
18th is Alex Albon with 3 points. He's tied with Lance Stroll, who's also on 3 points, which leaves Nicholas Latifi and Nico Hulkenberg 20th and 21st.
Oh, you've got to mention Latifi moved up a spot this week. He's gone from the 21st to the 20th driver.
Did Latifi get a point?
No.
Ah, he was close.
But he made it to
He was
Q3.
there.
That was enough to elevate him.
Yeah, he was there.
He was in
there.
striking distance.
He made it to Q3, so now he's like superior to Hulkenberg.
Literally, that's what's moved him up.
Did you get a point? No, but I made it to the top 10.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Made it to 12.
I just saw the photo you put in the chat.
Yeah, we can put that up.
Carlos Sainz to replace Ferrari's strategy team.
He wouldn't do a bad job. He's good at making calls.
He went his
Carlos.
own way and he won his own race. Take that,
It's
Bonotto.
a fucking Fleetwood Mac song.
You can go your own way.
What? That's
Jeep.
Is it Jeep? Is it?
Yeah, Jeep.
Oh,
Or
okay.
Land Rover.
Yeah,
No,
it's
Jeep.
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 You can go your own way.
I just noticed.
way.
I noticed in the driver's standings here, we got a bit of Noah's Ark syndrome happening.
Yeah, we do, don't
The
we?
drivers are going 2x2 at the moment.
This has got to be the longest it's gone in a season where Hamilton hasn't hit triple digits.
Yeah,
It's the longest into a season that Hamilton hasn't
won a race.
been on a podium.
No, won a race. He's
ha-
been on a podium this year.
He's been on a podium in every season he's competed. He's the only driver to ever do it, to be on a podium in every season he's competed. And the last times he had podiums but didn't win, it was Silverstone, was the race he got on the podium. So he's broken the duck again. He's finally on the podium.
He's been on the podium this year, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it? Or was
it was the longest without him having a race win.
Was it race
Yeah.
win, was
Yeah,
it?
it was a race win, and he did it one year. It got to Silverstone before he had one.
Oh, okay.
One of his years. So they were saying, like, is this the week he was going to break that duck again? Because he's
He
done it
almost
last time at
did.
Silverstone. Yeah, he
He
wasn't
almost
far off.
did.
He wasn't far off. It's coming. He's going to get a race win this year, I think.
I sort of hope not.
I hope not too, but I can see it happen.
Yeah.
I hope George Russell gets it. to be
He'll
honest.
shake. Yeah, I hope Russell wins the race before
Yeah.
Hamilton does.
Yeah.
Speaking of seeing something coming, I can see that Longhorn is going to read the team standings.
Alrighty, here we go. So, team standings after the Silverstone British Grand Prix. We have Red Bull Racing out in the lead with 328 points, followed by Ferrari with 265 points. In third, the last of the podium spots, we have Mercedes with 204 points. Then we go way, way down into fourth. We start getting into the mid-pack with McLaren with 73 points. And we have closely followed behind with Alpine with 67 points. In sixth, we have Alfa Romeo with 51 points. In seventh, we have AlphaTauri, 27 points. Catching them with a double points finish this weekend. In eighth, we have Haas with 20 points. Followed by Aston Martin with 18 points. And then down at the bottom, we have lowly old Williams with 3 points.
It looks like Alpine is catching McLaren.
Alpine is catching McLaren. Haas is catching AlphaTauri.
Well, I just want
I
to...
think Alpine's going to outdo McLaren this year. I think Alpine's got a good shot for fourth this year.
Haas has overtaken Aston Martin.
Yeah, Haas has jumped Aston Martin.
Woo!
Yeah, the gap between McLaren and Alpine's closed up.
Well, I mean, if you look at this race, Ocon would have finished in the points if he didn't DNF.
Yeah.
And Ricciardo was nowhere near the points. So
Would have been another few
would have
points
been
for-
only a couple of points.
No,
It's literally Norris against Alonso and Ocon at this point, because Ocon and Alonso are both getting points every week. Not a lot, but they're both in the points every week.
Yeah, well, Lando should have finished ahead of Fernando Alonso. That pit stop at the end, they were a second too late on it. It was a bit slow as well. They were a second too late. They would have been out ahead of Fernando, but, shit happens, I guess. I mean, it's not like Lando had help.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could sit here and keep shitting on Daniel Ricciardo and saying he needs to
pointless.
get in the fight.
It's pointless. He knows it. It's just a repetitive story. That
What happened with him this
didn't-
week? Like,
Didn't stop Fox Motorsport from his qualifying lap. He put in one qualifying lap, and then his next lap was going to be the go lap, and it started pissing down rain, and the track was too wet for him to improve his time. So he had one bank lap, and he's like, all right, next lap I'll go.
but he's still not even doing anything in the race.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I expected more from him in the race too.
Like, he couldn't get past Latifi.
Yeah. He's just,
Like, what's going on there?
I don't know.
You know? Like,
I don't know.
I'm not expecting him to jump up into podiums, but
I was
I would have
expecting
thought
him
he'd
to at
make a
least
fight
pass
for
cars.
points. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. He reckons his car didn't have grip the way Lando's had grip. I don't know.
It's almost like he's a lost cause.
He is a bit.
But I mean, we've gone over this a billion times.
Yeah, I'm not going
now.
over it again. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about it anymore.
Yeah, but the Alpines are starting to look.
They're competitive every week.
Yeah,
They are competitive every week. I think it'd be way more interesting if you had Piastri instead of Ocon. Watching Alonso and Piastri in this car this year would have been really nice. But I've got to give it to Ocon. He's not a bad driver. He's just not. He doesn't excite me as a world champion protagonist kind of driver, But he's putting in good performances in the car, and Alonso's turned back the clock. Like,
He's
how good has
still
he looked
driving.
these last few weeks?
Yeah, he's looking good.
Yeah.
And Latifi actually pulled something out with
He
qualifying.
pulled something out, and I mean, this weekend we had it all to create a great race. We had rain at some point. It went into qualifying. We had a big prang, which changed up the grid, and then we had a safety car about 10 laps to go. It's always what creates a great race. And
Yeah, it was the perfect mix of just like Formula One drama.
yeah, and I think Latifi got the good of it in qualifying, hence why he made it. But he still did it. Got to give him points for that. He got to 10th.
Yeah.
Couldn't.
That's
turn
the
it
joy.
into
The
anything,
joys of a
but-
wet qualifying, man. It just shuffles the grid so much.
Yeah, it's good.
And then a few of the protagonists were taken out early, and then like you guys said, the late safety car that bunched everyone back up. Charles Leclerc
Gave everyone opportunity to get on the tyres to go for it for the last 10.
and Karun Chandok was on the sky pad. Charles Leclerc had 15 seconds. Ferrari had 15 seconds from the yellow flag coming out, from the safety car being deployed, to Charles Leclerc getting to the front of the pit lane entry to call him in, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Which ruined Charles Leclerc's race, but gave Carlos his first win. The scrap brought Fernando, and Lando Norris was almost back in it too.
Oh, that last few laps it was like almost 5 cars in it.
It was just a big.
It was second to fifth, and it was.
It was
just-
Formula 2.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was so good to
It was
watch.
so good to watch, and that overtake by Hamilton, that was.
And
that
these
was
cars and
nice.
these specs, these regulations really seem to suit Silverstone.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like last year's Silverstone race was pretty processional.
Yeah.
And Max Verstappen just dominated it. And this year's was just chaos and
No, last year Verstappen got punted into the wall,
sorry.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton
Well,
fucking
Hamilton
came
ran
back
away
from
with it.
behind.
and then
yeah.
Lewis Hamilton made a fucking show pony of himself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Well,
Yeah, go on.
You
go
go.
for it.
You
I
go.
was just going to say, this year was a good race.
Race of the year so far for mine.
So far, yep.
Yep.
I'll move on that.
And then next week is one of my favourite tracks. We're back at the Red Bull Ring
Yeah.
in Austria.
And the Red Bull Ring's always good for a bit of rain at some point too.
Well, okay, who do you think, JB, who do you think's going to take it next week?
Max is gonna piss it in.
Max is going to come
Max
back
is
with
gonna be
fire in his
mad.
belly. Yeah.
He's gonna piss it in. He
Yeah.
dominated it last year, and I don't see him not dominating it. And I'm hoping for a strong weekend from McLaren too, because Lando likes the Red Bull Ring. He got his first podium there. I think he got a podium in one of the 2 back-to-back races there last year. He was on the podium, so I'm keen to see Lando attack that track again. I think the Ferrari's going to be quick. I think the Mercedes are going to be quick. I think it's going to be a good weekend.
I really want Charles Leclerc to bounce back. And,
I think
and
so,
take it.
but I think Max is he's real good. Like even historically, Red Bull at the Red
Yeah.
Bull Ring. Not just because they own the track, but historically Max is like really good at that track. So
I want to see a good race from AlphaTauri. I want to see them put it together and both have a double points finish instead of colliding and falling out and making nothing of it,
absolutely.
I want Mick Schumacher to keep going with
Oh,
his
yeah,
form.
for sure.
Like, keep it
For
up,
sure.
son. Get in
I
there,
mean,
Lewis.
I want Alex Albon to win the race, but that's not going to happen. But I'd like
It
to
could.
see him at least get
It
a
could.
lap in instead of this.
Hey, I mean, 10 years ago, bloody Pastor Maldonado won a race in the Williams.
Yeah,
Our last one
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
was our last win. Yep.
Yep.
Unfortunately, those days are going to be saved until next year with Oscar Piastri behind the wheel. He's going to be our shot.
He's
But-
open.
But I think the Red Bull Ring, it always throws up an interesting race. Like,
does.
it's
Oh,
very
I'm keen.
rarely is it procedural.
We're keen for the next 4 races. They're all good tracks, and we've got Formula 2, everyone, at every single track. So you'll be hearing
Woohoo.
more of me ramble about the F2. So
Whoop whoop.
Woo.
Right. So now we're going to get our plugs in for the F1 chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that me, is it?
Yeah, you can do that.
You were so professional last time you did this.
Oh, I had it written down somewhere. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay, well, the first one is you
Nah,
can
we don't
catch
need
us,
to be professional. Screw this.
you can catch us on YouTube on the F1 chat, care of Vindicator 18 channel.
You can
on
catch us on
Spotify.
Facebook.
Yep.
Facebook, the F1 chat. Well, I'm pretty much page managing that at the moment.
Catch us on Twitter, the F1 Chat 1.
Don't forget the one.
Don't forget the one.
Don't forget the one.
You can
Spotify.
Listen to us on Spotify. What else are we on? Is that it?
Yep.
Yeah,
YouTube, Facebook, Spotify,
Yeah.
and Twitter.
Twitter.
and Twitter.
And Twitter.
You know, and I'll post all the links up on Facebook. I'll post it up on Twitter. I'll keep you guys updated on the rumours and the rounds because I've got all week off and I've got nothing else to do. And shout out to all our listeners. Shout out to Darren and the work boys, to Mum, to everyone who goes through Spotify, to everyone who's on the YouTube channel, you know, watching
Kylie,
Phil's
Carol.
editing prowess on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You know-
Carol, Kylie, thank you for joining in. I think Jack, my drummer, also listens to us. They're all people who don't know anything about F1, but because they know me, they're like, yeah, we'll give it a listen.
Exactly, to Barry and Bernie. I know you boys are out there, you know, keep spreading the word, keep spreading the good stuff.
Barry, come back.
Oh yeah, Barry Enchilada. I also met Brian, my mate Brian, but that's all right. Also, for any footy fans, you can catch me destroying Brad Arthur again this week on the Parramatta's podcast. That'll come out on Friday.
And we also have
fucking
new
week.
episodes of Stop the Damn Match, the wrestling podcast that we do with Dr. Seamus.
Yep, that'll be the Money in the Bank
And
review. Yep.
And possibly for AEW Forbidden Door.
Yeah, I'll go back and watch that at
Yeah.
some point.
But we're back
That's a
next
YouTube
week.
exclusive, by the way.
Yes.
The Parramatta's one you can also catch on Spotify. And follow the Parramatta's on Facebook as well if you want to catch that. But yeah, Stop the Damn Match is YouTube exclusive on the same channel, the Vindicator 18, is it?
Yes.
Yep. So,
And
and
before we go, because we hit 100 downloads, 100.
Yeah, so while we're on the conversation of thanking the fans, we made a promise, well, I made a promise that everyone has to follow here a few weeks ago, that when we get to 100 downloads all time, we'd crack a 4X gold. So today, we can tell everyone we did it. We're past the 100.
we cracked the 100.
And here we are, boys, as I pass out our 4Xs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't actually drink, but
It's
all right.
celebration time. So as a thank you to our fans, to our listeners,
Cheers, everyone.
the
cheers.
Slade Point secret's out.
That's the good stuff.
Oh, boy.
Tastes like Queensland.
So, yeah, thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. I've just got a couple of stats here I could quickly go over. A couple of places where our downloads are from, boys. Thought you might be interested. So, how many countries do you think we've actually even had a download for? Give us a guess.
3.
10.
9.
Whoa,
Nine countries.
Holy
I
shit.
was close.
That's awesome.
So, to our listeners out there in the United States, again, thank you for listening. To our listeners out there in Belgium,
Yes.
again, thank you
go
for listening.
strong.
If you're listening and you're in another country, that's so awesome. If you're still listening to us, you didn't just come across us on accident. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you genuinely give a shit, man, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so that's awesome. So, yeah, again, listeners from United Kingdom, Russia, Turkey, Canada, Chile, and Spain. Yeah, thanks for checking us out, and I hope you're enjoying it. And
Yeah,
hope we can
you
give
know.
you the contact you guys enjoy and pass this around to more people that might enjoy.
Exactly. We're
And we'll drink more 4X Gold.
yeah, we're a lot different to what you'd get from the official in brackets podcast, the very straight and British. So I'm going to sit here and keep drinking my beer.
Yeah, it's actually quite good.
In
I don't
thanks
mind him.
in thanks to you guys around the world and around the country and even around town here in Mackay. You know, there's a thanks to you.
Cheers.
Yeah. Particularly everyone in Belgium, like, yeah, because my family's part from Belgium, so I'm actually really proud of that.
Yeah, I'm proud of Belgium too. I hope you guys get out to the Spa-Francorchamps Grand Prix and
Oh, yeah.
We'll be over there one day.
yeah, that's my dream track. I want to go to Spa-Francorchamps and
We need to make a trip of it, I reckon.
sit in the grandstand
Just-
at Eau Rouge.
Do an entire month, like Spa, Netherlands, Monza.
Yeah.
Imagine being in the crowd with a Tifosi.
That's why like I love it when we come back from the mid-season break.
Because then all the good tracks just start.
Those yeah,
Yeah.
and they're all back refreshed, ready to kick ass and take names.
That's it.
Yeah, it's awesome. We
One
should
day
definitely
we'll
plan that
come.
for a few years' time. We'll just
Yes.
do a month trip.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Lock it
So, thank you everyone who downloads, who tunes in every episode. We really do appreciate the support as I'm slowly running out of air in my lungs. Thank you. We will see you next week for the Austrian F1 from the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. It's also the place that directs movies as well.
Steven.
Steven Spielberg. But thank you, everyone. And until next week, it is goodbye.